Welcome to the Advancing Entrepreneur. This show is all about surrounding yourself for success. Hear stories of building traction, gaining acceleration, and creating results from successful entrepreneurs who have surrounded themselves with other successful entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Annette Nightingale James.
Entrepreneurs, Annette Nightingale James back with you for another episode of the Advancing Entrepreneur Show, where we help you get traction, acceleration, and results in your business. And today we are joined by my friend and fellow John Maxwell coach, Bob Kittridge. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Excellent. I'm just totally digging it. Okay, you're not going to appreciate this at all being in Colorado, but I'm down in Florida, and the cool front is stepping in. It is getting down into the 50s. I'm very excited.
Oh no.
So got my sweater on today.
Well, I think we're moving into the 60s tomorrow, but right now it's pretty chilly. So
there you go. Colorado is one of my favorite states ever, so that could be a whole other show. So we'll move right past that. Bob Kittridge is on a mission to help people overcome their limiting beliefs and live their life's purpose. Bob, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business.
Well, my background is in the fire service, over 30 years in the fire service, so retired out of that. Have been a trainer for most of that, but one of the things that really started to become aware to me was I was somebody that people would kind of come to for advice or opinions or, and then through my work is I figured out that we all have these limiting beliefs, right? It's a self-image. And like it or not, it stops us from achieving that full potential that we're created with. The shame of it is most people have no clue what either are, the potential and the real purpose or their limiting beliefs. So that's, we've got a company called Kittridge Connection. I say we, my wife and I, and we've had that now for 4 years. And that's what we focus on, is really working with people on my tagline is build on belief. So I'm a firm believer we build on belief. The question is, are we building towards our purpose, or are we building on the belief that takes us away from that purpose? And that's the limiting beliefs.
So very good. Well, we'll get into more about, maybe defining exactly what a limiting belief is so our audience can get an idea, and maybe even you'll share with us a few tactics here on the show today. But for now, I want you to share with the audience, what is it that drives you forward every day? What motivates you day in and day out to continue on your business path?
Boy, that's a question I've been looking at over the past couple of weeks anyway, but it's really knowing and believing that we were created whole and perfect in every way, right? I mean, we're created for success. We truly are. But we get in our own way. And we do that not on purpose, but we do that out of, again, the belief. So what drives me forward and what really excites me is to work with people. I love one-on-one coaching, is to watch I call them aha moments, right? Where they see a glimpse of that and step into it. That's what drives me, and especially look at the world right now with what's happening, right? There is such a change that's needed. So that's what drives me, is really trying to have people become aware, not telling them because I can't, but having them become aware of their purpose.
So, okay, very good. Very good. I like it. So tell me, what led you? I know that you said that you kind of had people who would normally come to you, and so this probably felt like a natural transition to you, but what actually inspired you to move into setting up your own business? Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, I kind of joke about I've probably been an entrepreneur most of my life. And as in the fire service, I mean, my mom was very much entrepreneur, so I saw that in her. In the fire service, of course, we only worked about 10 days a month. So what do you do with the rest of that month? It's just natural to kind of start your own business. So I've been an entrepreneur for many years in all kinds of different realms, but I never found something that really drove me, right? I mean, it really gave me satisfaction. So my wife and I started a training business in the fire world. We did skills training, and that was pretty cool. We loved that because we loved where people we love to interact with people. So and then of course, when we got involved with John Maxwell and really looked at the what was available, we belonged to a network marketing direct sales company, and we actually joined to be able to get the skills to help those people move forward. We see so many people find their dream and they define their dream, but then they get stopped. And so that was the original intent of getting involved with John Maxwell. And when we left our first training, we just knew we closed down our training business and actually opened up Kittridge Connection to work in the personal growth and leadership development field.
So I love that story, because I think it's important to realize that, we want to have our thing, right? Like we want to have it in this pretty package, and we want to know exactly what we're going to be doing. And we want to be able to look down the road and say, okay, if I'm just faithful in my business for a year, it'll take off. If I'm just faithful in my business for 2 years, it'll really take off, stuff like that. But it's not always definable, but it's about continuing to move forward. And the next step will take you to the next step, and that'll take you to the next step. So I think that's a great example.
And that's the important thing. It's the next step. It's always taking that next step. And that sometimes is a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bob, along your journey here, maybe, inside Maxwell World, outside Maxwell World particular, but for you in particularly, how do you go about surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs and other small business owners that will brainstorm with you and support you and give you feedback and hold you up in your journey of owning your business?
Well, that's been a real struggle for many years. And I think as you look at who you surround yourself with, and I think it was Jim Rohn said, you will be the average of the 5 people that you let influence you. And as I started this journey, especially over the last 3 years, 4 years, that become very apparent, is that the people that I was allowing influencing me, I was getting those results, which was not the results I wanted. So and it's kind of intertwined with purpose. Once I've defined my purpose, then it became very clear who I needed to surround myself with. And I think that purpose thing is an elusive, it's kind of people are grabbing for it, but until that is clearly defined, then law of priorities kicks in, law of timing kicks in, who you surround yourself, the law of the inner circle kicks in. So for me, I'm looking at somebody that is in a spot where I want to be, somebody that I can learn from and that will challenge me to move forward. Doesn't do much good to surround yourself with people that are in your space at your level, because it creates a status quo. So those that are looking to challenge me, and those are in the places where I want to be.
So very cool. So do you have like a preferred way to do that? Are you bigger, like for yourself, are you more into like coaching? Or are you doing mastermind groups? Do you really thrive on attending live events? What do you specifically do that helps you connect with those people?
For the inner circle?
No, just for you, how do you surround yourself with the people that advance you forward?
Well, I think one of the greatest decisions I made was to join the John Maxwell team. I mean, that when you look at John, Paul Martinelli, some of those guys, they are in that space. They are in that space. Other places is networking. I'm always on the lookout for somebody that I can learn from. Now I say that is sometimes I can learn from those that are not doing what I'm doing also, right? Because they're showing me what not to do. So I'm always on the lookout for somebody that I can learn from in some way. And then from there, it's kind of an intuition thing. It's a matchup. It's to see, are we adding value to each other? Because it can't be that law of the inner circle can't be a one way. There needs to be a two-way adding of value.
So certainly. So Bob, during this time, it sounds to me like a lot of your more recent pivots and direction turns were around joining the John Maxwell certification program. So during that time, share with us, you said when you left the certification program, you knew you had to start Kittridge Connections, but could you elaborate on that story a little bit more? Or did you have another kind of aha moment or light bulb moment that was a pivoting point for you that came from surrounding yourself with other people?
Boy, I don't know, right? It was when we left that training, we saw something bigger than what we went in for. That's kind of, and as I really looked at the world in the fire service is kind of where I started looking. In that world, what we had taught as leadership was management. So I kind of thought, how do I bring that back into that world? The struggle there is there's a field that is very tradition centered. We've done it this way for 200 years, and why should we do it different, right? I think if they could still pull it by horses, they would, right? So I started looking at where in the community could I do that, and that's just opened all kinds of doors for me in making that difference. I don't know that it was the one thing. I guess for me, the one thing that's changed me the most was spending time with one of my mentors in his vision retreat. That really, and once again, I can't say that I left there with, I just know I looked at the world differently, right? I mean, when you spend 3 days on the couch with Paul Martinelli, it shapes your world in a different way. And that really was one of the first turning points of me deciding where I needed to go.
So I like that too, because I think it's about, I know that it's about, sometimes it's more about putting yourself in the space to have those shifts in the way that you view the world and the way that you view your business. And it is about that one aha moment or about the business idea or about any of that. It can be a complete paradigm shift by virtue of putting yourself in the space to be there. So I think that that's excellent. So Bob, I pull us up to speed. What are you working on in your business now? Do you have a project or anything coming up or your regular services that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, what we're doing now is we're moving towards and kind of increasing our group coaching model. And a couple of reasons for that is we run a 6-month group coaching model that really delves into purpose, really delves into self-image and through some lessons. So what happens with that over a 6-month period, participation in the lessons on forgiveness, drama, purpose, vision, goals. One, it's a great entry point for a lot of people because one-on-one coaching, one, for some is not affordable to start with. And two, they're not ready for that. Right? They're not ready for that intense one-on, and it is intense, right, for a lot of people. So that's the biggest thing. And then first of the year, we're launching a new workshop called Blueprint for Success. And that's really all about laying out a foundation and a blueprint to achieve your dreams. And again, purpose, vision, goals. It comes down to the basics. And that's, so almost everything we do, because I believe once you discover, and it is a discovery, your purpose, boy, things start to line up after that.
Right. I also love that you're doing like different things, but all centered around the same thing, right? So that's always a great business lesson, is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we want to do something new in our business. We can take what we're already doing, that shift it. And sometimes that little shift is a much more attractive, or like you said, a better fit for some clients. So I love that you're taking the same idea and you're just putting it into different models. So there's a lot to be said for that. As entrepreneurs, we tend to think that we have to start over from scratch every time we want to start something new. But
and that's and again, when I work with entrepreneurs, one of the first things I ask them is what's their purpose as an entrepreneur. And typically I'll get, well, it's to sell a widget, or it's to, no, that's what you're doing, right? And I think if you really get clear on purpose, like for us, we get a lot of opportunities. People approach us, hey, you guys ought to do this. And it's all back to evaluated through that purpose. We've taken on a couple different, we quote them as products. John Maxwell Products is one of those. We have an assessment system. We have a couple workshops, but it's all in that center around the purpose. If it doesn't match that, then it's just not a great opportunity for us. It may look like it, and it used to, again, I was a shiny object guy, right? Ooh, shiny object, let's go. And how many entrepreneurs do that? Yeah.
Everywhere, they're everywhere.
And really, I take that as a compliment when people bring stuff to me, because that's really, they're seeing me as a leader, or they're seeing me as, which is good, but the danger side of that, right, danger opportunity, is that it may take you off track of what your real purpose as an entrepreneur is.
Oh, gotcha. Very good. Excellent. So, Bob, I want you to send over the links to your new success planning workshop, because that might be live by the time this episode goes live, and also links to your website and audience. We're going to put it at iamadvancing.com. Go to iamadvancing.com, hit up Bob in the search bar. His show notes page is going to come right up, and we're going to link to the resources and to where you can find Bob as well. So, Bob, well, I wanted to give our audience a chance to get to know you a little bit better now with a little bit of a speed round that I call playing favorites. All right?
Okay.
Okay. Who is your favorite child? I'm kidding. Don't answer that question.
I actually have one of those, but we're not going to put that on air. Right?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. That opens such a can of worms.
They're all
but
great,
anyway,
yeah.
It's always good to lighten the mood a little bit. Bob, tell us, what's your favorite charity?
You know, I'm really, right now what we're working with is with Equip and the John Maxwell team and looking at some of the work in Guatemala. We were able to go down there last year or 2 years ago now. And so we're kind of teaming up with Paul Martinelli and Roddy Galbraith and some things they're doing in that world. That's right now my favorite charity.
So very cool. What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, I think James Allen, and that is, and I'm going to mess it up, but it's close, is, men are anxious to change their conditions and circumstances, but unwilling to change themselves. Therefore, they remain bound. If we so want everything around us to change, but yet to make that happen, we have to change.
Yeah, that's so true. Tell us, what is your favorite discovery? Do you have an app or a resource that you use in your business?
Yeah, I'm a techie kind of guy. I'm a new adapter, so I think two of them for me is Evernote. I love Evernote. That is my go-to filing, all kinds of different, and then I've started using a new email management system called IQtel. And it uses the Getting Things Done theory by David Allen and how you only handle something once. So those are probably my two favorites.
Oh, very cool. What is your favorite song? Especially, do you have something that you listen to that gets you pumped up?
Yeah, it's this. Oh gosh, totally.
By the way, if you forget the title, you have to sing it for us. That's the rule on the show.
Oh. I've got so many, but this is my life. I think it is, and I'll send you the title of it. I'm not going to sing it either. So, but it was introduced again by Paul Martinelli, and it's just a great way to start a morning.
So cool. Very good. Tell us, what is your favorite business book? What should our audience be reading?
Oh man, and this is a big change for me. I mean, I barely graduated high school, right? I was the one that made the top part look good, right? Which meant that I hardly ever cracked a book. In the last year, I think I've 2 years, read 35 to 40. So right now what I'm reading, and we just picked this up, is it's called Remarkable, and I've got it right here. It's by David Slayers with Chick-fil-A. He's the vice president of Chick-fil-A. And it really talks about how, as a business, you need to be remarkable, because there's so many businesses out there that are doing the same thing. And we try to overcome that unremarkability with advertising. So if you're remarkable, if you're value centric, you don't need any advertising, right? Because you're remarkable. And that's my book right now that I'm starting to then learn from and weave into some of my stuff.
Perfect. All right. Very good. Well, Bob, I want you to share with our audience now, if you as yourself today could go back to that version of yourself who was just starting your very first business, what advice would you give that guy?
Probably don't try to do it alone. And that's, as I look back on part of my self-image, part of that I've overcome, is that I don't need anybody. Right? So I look back now, and the reason some of those other businesses didn't make it or they failed was I tried to do everything myself. And unfortunately, as an entrepreneur, that's what we try to do, right? And sometimes we use that as the I can't afford it excuse. And really, once you discover your strength and once you discover where you play and play there and hire everything else out, your business just takes off. I find so many entrepreneurs spend so much time working in their business, right, that they can't work on their business. And so that would be it, is, don't go it alone.
So you're a big proponent of stay in your genius zones. Do only what you can do in your business.
Yeah, learning your strengths and learning your weaknesses, and not so I can improve on my weaknesses, but I can operate in my strength and I can offset and manage my weaknesses with, like, your strength. How do I team up with somebody? Because we can work on our weakness and we can get better, but we'll only be mediocre at it. We'll never be excellent at something we're weak at. But we can operate in an excellent zone with our strengths.
So very cool. Great. Bob, well, I want you to share with our audience now where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this. But our website is www.kittridgeconnection.com. My email is bob@kittridgeconnection.com. And you can give me a call at 719-633-2097. And we do offer free coaching introduction sessions for those that are looking to kind of see what coaching is all about.
Oh, very cool. And Bob is going to send all that information over to me, audience. So hit up iamadvancing.com. Bob, in the search bar, the show notes page is going to come up with all this contact information right on it. So Bob, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and helping us advance.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. If you enjoyed it, leave us a rating and review. Not only will it make our day, you'll also be helping others find this show and advance their own careers. Once you're done, be sure to head on over to iamadvancing.com and join our community to learn what it takes to be an advancing entrepreneur and surround yourself for success. Thanks again, and get ready to advance.